Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Games We Love podcast. It's been a while, and so some explanation is probably in order. But before anything, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to push play on this episode. We have some exciting changes in store for the podcast, and I'm anxious to tell you about them. First off, I will reintroduce myself. I'm Aaron, and I started the Games We Love a couple of years ago, and it was meant to be a place for interviews with video game industry professionals, whether they be journalists, various streaming personalities, developers themselves, etc., where we would talk about their work and some of their favorite games. The first season of the show, we're going to call and refer to as the Alpha season going forward, with this rebrand as the Beta model. And those Alpha episodes 1 through 11 are going to remain available in the podcast feed. So by all means, check those out. There's some great conversations there with folks from GameSpot, previous people who worked at IGN. We've got YouTube reviewers. I've got my daughter on one episode who's now in college studying game design, all kinds of fun stuff to listen to there. We will do more episodes like that in the future, where we have some interviews, but that kind of content is going to be extra and not part of the weekly drops. This is going to be the Games We Love remake or remaster or reboot, whatever you want to call it. And going forward, going to have a crew of other folks joining me every week to discuss the games we're playing, both old and new, talk about our experiences with ongoing progression, discuss any eventful news that we find interesting, and share some recommendations for things that we enjoy across any other of our number of nerdy hobbies. We're just some friends. We're having fun conversations about You Got It, the games we love, and hopefully you will enjoy them too. And now that I've babbled enough, let's get to introducing you to the new crew, shall we? We're going to go through this in this first episode and introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about what excites us about doing the podcast, why we're here, what we want to get out of this, and what we hope that you will get out of it as well. And I'm going to start with my friend, Kevin Brackett. Kevin, hello.
Hello, folks. I'm happy to be here. This is very exciting. And Aaron, thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this. My name's Kevin Brackett. I'm a lifelong video gamer. Started gaming when I was around 2 years old on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So old school. You
used the Nintendo when you were 2?
I did.
Wow.
I have video proof if you don't believe me.
I'm going to want to see that at some point.
Home videos, yeah. So, no, seriously. I mean, been gaming since 2, never stopped. I don't have as much time as I would like to. So when Aaron is talking about different styles of gamers and people that buy the new games, people that play a game until they beat it, or people that move on very quickly, I'm in the latter category, where I like to buy a lot of games and I wish I had the time to finish them, but I love to game and I love to try new stuff. So that's me. You can find me gaming whenever I can fit the time in with my schedule these days. I've got 2 kids at home, so, schedule's a little hectic. But my first gaming memory, like I said, is the NES. And seriously, I was 2 years old, probably pretty close to 3, but technically 2, and was playing NES, trying to beat those levels, get Bowser. And my favorite games for the Nintendo Entertainment System are the original Final Fantasy, Super Mario Brothers 3, and I'm a big Simpsons fan, so Bart vs. the World is another one that I love. I primarily game on PlayStation 5, although I've got Xbox, I've got all of them, so love to have options. Been playing some Kirby and Metroid on the Switch, so getting a little bit of love there. And for anyone else who has heard me on my other podcast, or especially if you listen to Aaron's Feel and Film podcast, I'm a big movie guy, so usually I'm watching more movies than playing games, but hopefully I'll be able to balance things out a little bit more now that we're doing this show.
Yeah, I totally hear you there. Hopefully we will all be able to get in a little bit of additional gaming time, although we are all very busy. We all have so many hobbies and so many things going on. I think that's part of the awesome nature of what we have here in the group that we've put together, is that we are just a bunch of gamers who also love other things. We're not fully devoted to nothing but spending 40 hours of gaming time every week. But it's a big part of all of our lives, and it's something that we care about and we enjoy and we want to be sure and continue doing. Next up, I'm going to introduce Jessie So, Jessie, thank you for joining us. I'm excited to learn more about Jessie because I am just now meeting Jessie. Jessie is, where are you from? St. Louis, right?
Yeah, I'm in St. Louis. I'm originally from Oregon, Portland, but I'm in the Midwest now.
When did you get there? How did you make that jump?
Right, everybody asks that. I don't know.
Well, I'm in Seattle, so it's like I went from Arkansas to Seattle, so we almost did like a reversey kind of
yeah, I
thing.
went backwards on the Oregon Trail. I don't know why. There's really no good explanation to it. I was like 12, 13, so it really wasn't entirely my choice. I had no idea what we were doing. I cannot be held responsible.
But it's stuck. You're there now and you're staying.
Well, I don't want to say I'm staying, but I've stayed so far.
Well, these guys are in St. Louis as well, so they'll probably try and sell you on it.
Yeah, no, I don't. God, no. Just the weather itself is terrible. I mean, Seattle, it rains all the time, but I'd rather have that, honestly. It's so humid here.
Yeah, I can't stand the humidity either. Well, tell us what you are like. Tell us about your history with gaming and what you're into.
Yeah, so there's, I guess a lot. Pretty much my history with gaming, pretty sure I was probably one by the time I was at least one when I was first starting to get into games. My dad was a gamer, and the first consoles that I remember playing on he had ColecoVision, Atari, and the NES. So when I was at my sister's dad's, they had ColecoVision and Atari, and my dad had all of them, including the NES, and I even have a photo proof of when I was 2, sitting down, all cute-like, playing Super Mario Brothers. And I will say I was completing some levels at that point.
Wow.
This sounds very familiar.
And then I also, what I'm interested in, pretty much, I like all the, girly games, I suppose. I like the RPGs. I like the action-adventure games. Pretty much, I like any game. Like, Legend of Zelda is one of my current, not necessarily current, but, like, in general favorites. I have pretty much every system, except for, like, the brand new ones. I have a museum, if you will. So I have a vast interest in the retro games, is what the kids call them these days, I suppose. And I also have done a lot of PC gaming. When people ask, are you a PC gamer or a console gamer, I don't understand that because I'm a gamer. I have everything.
I love it.
Especially because it's like I have a game that I like to play, but it's on this console or system, and so I have to get that. So that's pretty much what happened. Like, Fable is one of my favorites, so I had to get, the Xboxes, and then I loved pretty much every top game that was on PlayStation, so I had to get that. But yeah, every single Game Boy. I even have like a couple Game Boys that people never heard of. I have the original Game Boy. I have a Game Boy Micro. My first job was working at GameStop, so yeah. I do like some of the, like, I'll play more like RPGs with friends. I can get pretty good at them, but I do prefer the more chill games, more retro, old school games. But yeah.
That's great. I love the retro angle there because it's definitely not me. And I'm the exact opposite of you, where I have always just traded up constantly from one console to the next, to the next, to the next. I've never kept them, and I always regret it, and I keep doing it over and over. And like, I just went through a process this weekend where I had to overpay for a new 3DS XL because I wanted to get one and load it up with a bunch of games before the Nintendo eShop goes offline next year. And I've literally owned this exact 3DS XL at regular price, half a decade ago. Yep. And then I had to spend like 3 days on Nintendo customer service trying to get my account transferred and all these dumb things, all because I wasn't patient enough to just set it down and be like, Aaron, you might want to play it a year later. But so I think that's awesome that you.
Yeah, I don't trade up. I just collect up. I just keep adding to the collection.
It's a great quality. So many people are like me, I think, and don't keep their stuff. And it's really neat to be able to
I see them as a collectible too. Like, they're valuable even more so in the future. And I've always been, even when I was little, I always had a mind for investment. So, yeah. The only time I ever did trade in something was the GameCube, and I wholeheartedly regret that. But that was when the backlit 3DSs came out.
Oh, yeah.
the SPs, and I really wanted one of those, and I couldn't afford it at the time. So that's my one regret. I never let it happen again.
The trading in for credit was always the thing that got me too. Like, I can get it cheaper, so why wouldn't I do what I want to do in the moment? I'm not a good long-term planner. So what else do you do? Like, I know you have a Twitch channel, so what kind of projects do you have going on? Because you're a busy gal.
Yes, yeah, I have so much. It's hard for me to keep track, and I have recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and it all makes sense now, so I don't know how I've been doing it. But yeah, I've been doing Twitch full-time since last July, and I've been doing really well. I've been growing super fast, and I was able to get a whole new proper gaming PC built from Twitch streams pretty much within the first, 5 months. So yeah, and my Twitch is BadPikaPi, and right now this month I'm actually doing my third sponsorship for HelloFresh. It's the biggest one I've done so far, so yeah, a little shout out for, HelloFresh sponsorship. If anybody wants to sign up using my code, it's POGSE3455. Really help a girl out. So I've been really focused on that this month. It's only a month long, so I've been doing that. And then just, from there on out, it's just, searching for the next sponsorship, always growing, always finding out ways. I have an amazing, team of mods that are just phenomenal people. My whole community is amazing, so that's just been fantastic, and I get sent different opportunities. I also do modeling and acting, and I've done that most of my life, and I have a mannequin modeling on Thursday, so that'll be fun.
Mannequin modeling? You'll have to explain. Yeah. Wait, are you posing as if you were in a store?
Really? Not necessarily in a store, but I am holding a pose for a long duration of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun, and it's going to pay for the massage therapist the next day. And I also have a couple acting things I've wrapped up, and I have coming up as well. Always keeps it fun and interesting. Most of the acting stuff I've done have been short films and music videos, so I'm really excited for a couple of them that haven't come out yet, but will.
Wow.
And then I also do a couple podcasts that I am terrible at keeping up with. One of them's just a bedtime story ASMR, and then another one's a podcast discussing chronic illness. I deal with multiple autoimmune diseases, so I have a podcast just kind of interviewing other people with chronic illness and kind of just make more awareness and letting people know that they're not alone that do deal with it.
That's great. It's good stuff. You, like I said, busy lady.
Yeah, so, those are just the top ones.
Right. Well, I've definitely checked out some of your cooking streams, and I do recommend.
Oh my gosh!
As someone who does not do a lot of cooking, you are like my spirit animal. Because you are so realistic and natural.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yep.
Perfect in the kitchen, and I don't say that it's not a knock.
No, I get it.
It's not a knock. No.
I'm the first one to admit
better. Right? It makes me feel better watching you because I'm like, that's me.
I get
I'm
that
gonna
a
make
lot.
That mistake. But since she made the same thing first, then it'll save me from doing it. So
see, and
anyway,
that's one of the things that I love to do, helping to show other people how to do it, how not to do it, and learn with me, and to not be afraid to make those mistakes and make those mistakes in front of a lot of people.
Yeah, you gotta be able to take and roll with the punches. And I've seen that you do. Do you do any gaming on Twitch specifically, or will you when you're not doing the HelloFresh sponsorship? You think?
Yeah, well, this month has been the only month that I've been sponsored by HelloFresh. Prior to this, I have done cooking streams as well, but majority of the time I am gaming on my Twitch streams. I do a lot of, I jump around a lot. It's I guess it's the ADHD thing. I hyper focus on a game, and I don't even finish it. I can't finish games for some reason. It's like I have this fear of the ending of the game. And so what I do is I was addicted to Raft on Steam, and I was playing that. I don't even want to admit it, but I would be on Raft for 11 hours straight, forgetting to eat even. And I would be I streamed it, and I accidentally had it a 10-hour stream. How do you have an accidental 10-hour stream? I'm I don't know. I just had to build this Raft. and then all of a sudden I found this other game called The Survivalist on my Switch, and that got me addicted, and I got everybody else to download it to play with me, and I forgot all about Raft. I have this gigantic mansion of a Raft that I built, and then the Survivalist monkeys I had like a monkey gang. It was just I beat the main quest of it and switched over to My Time in Portia on for sale, and I've never played it before. I heard about it a lot, and I'm like, well, I'll download it. And so now it's 15 hours in, and it's only been a few days. So I rotate quickly in games. So there's only a couple of games that I've been able to actually complete from start to finish on my streams, and those were very, very short games, like King's Quest, Day of the Tentacle, old school DOS type games. That's how I succeed in finishing games. They're just really short.
Cool. Well, hey, it all counts. It's all about the enjoyment, right? And whatever it is, that works.
My community's used to that.
That's great. And just so you know, listeners, I will be sure, and on all of the show notes, I will make sure to drop all of our social accounts and various links. So, for example, Jessie's BadPikaPi.
Yeah.
so that you can get the spelling correctly, I'll drop her Twitch link in those show notes as well, so you guys can follow her and us if you would like. Well, last up we have Brad, and I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. I'm assuming it's Heyen because
Correct.
It's a play on Heineken. Okay.
Yep, you got it. Yeah, my name is Brad. I appreciate you having me on, Aaron. As Kevin knows, for like the last couple of years, I've been talking about doing a podcast and never, ever pulled the trigger on it. So I was so excited when you reached out and said you were reviving this and wanted to include me. Like Jessie, my dad was the catalyst who kind of got me involved in anything that I'm involved in now with video games and collecting toys and you name it. Like it was my dad that I sneak into the basement. We got one of my funniest memories was we were giving my brother an N64 for his birthday. You know, it turned out to be more of a family treat, but my brother got to open it for his birthday. But for a couple weeks before his birthday came up, me and my dad would sneak down into the basement and carefully unwrap it and play it. It was so cool for the time being. But primarily our house was a Nintendo household, and like Jessie mentioned with King's Quest, we did a lot of PC gaming with the 90s Windows 3.1. We had all the Sierra games between King's Quest and Space Quest, and when my dad wasn't around, I'd sneak on Leisure Suit Larry way before I was age appropriate to play it. But a lot of my gaming, learning what video gaming was, came from PC gaming and Ken and Roberta Williams with the Sierra and King's Quest, and played those over and over again, and it was just the best time. And Westwood Studios, Legend of Kyrandia, Legend Studios with Companions of Xanth. I was struggling to limit my list this morning when I was putting it all together because I have so many favorites from that time. But throughout the years, I moved on. I met a buddy in 5th grade who had a PlayStation and introduced me to a new world outside of Nintendo because I didn't really pay attention to anything. All I knew was Nintendo, and that's where I learned about Final Fantasy and all these other games that I'd been missing out on. And throughout the years, I come and go with the different systems between PlayStation and Xbox and whatever my friends were playing. But primarily now it's mostly just on PlayStation, where I try to keep everything contained. Most of the games that I prefer, the styles of the narrative structures of the Naughty Dog games and Sony Santa Monica and even Insomniac with the Spider-Man games, they're all over on PlayStation, so I primarily focus on there because my OCD about trophies and achievements and whatever, I like having everything in one place. But when something really sticks out, like games that I'm interested in, Tunic and other things that are coming up or that are out now that pull me away from the PlayStation, I'm all over the place with what I play, but primarily on PlayStation. And yeah, that's my gaming history in a quick nutshell.
That's good. Yeah, I remember definitely the Sierra games for sure. I played quite a bit of the King's Quest, Space Quest series. I did not play Leisure Suit Larry, so I was not a young delinquent like yourself.
Yeah, there's so much of that game that I guarantee I didn't understand at the time, just the adult humor and things. And I know going back now, I haven't played them in so long, but if I went back now and seen some of the things, I would be like, what what was I thinking? There's no way I understood any of what they're talking about on here.
But to be fair, Leisure Suit Larry never gets anywhere, right? So it's not like it actually went into that crazy of a situation, right? He always he never had any luck.
It's
I didn't
true,
play
but
'em.
there was some vulgar stuff. There was nudity in it. I always thought it was the funniest thing to figure out how to get the nudity to come out. But yeah, it's not my proudest moments, but it was like
That's okay.
yeah. But anyway, those Sierra games, like the King's Quest games primarily. There's I think 8 of them, but aside from the remake that they did in 2016. I think there were 8 of them, and the last one, The Mask of Eternity, I think was 96, maybe 97, and at the time, like, was groundbreaking graphics for me. And looking back at some of the screenshots that I've looked at recently, it was like, how gaming has improved since then. But at the time, it was this whole new world, how it evolved from little sprites to what it was at the time. But
yeah, no doubt.
It's one of the franchises I wish that they would. I think Activision maybe owns Sierra now, but I would love to see more in the Kingdom of Daventry and all the characters there that I grew up with.
Did you play the remake that they just made? Because I know that they put out something.
Yeah, there was 5 chapters, I think, and an epilogue. I played through that. I think that was 2016. Those came out, so I probably played them soon after. It's been a while since I played them, but I remember thinking that it was a really good homage to the original series. I think you play as King Graham again, or at least a young version of him. He's the old guy in the game, but I don't remember the story as well as I probably should have, or as much as I'm gushing about King's Quest. But it's something it's worth a revisit, probably.
Yeah, no, that's great. And how are you on your console collecting? Are you person that keeps all of them, or are you more like me and trade them in?
I've become that way. All of the Nintendo consoles are still at my parents' house. I don't have any Xboxes anymore. I did trade those in when I got a Switch, and I put my Xbox One toward my PlayStation 4, I think. Or maybe that was toward my Switch, but I do have every Sony console, which I'm kind of proud of. I do want to put them like on a shelf or something one time and display them, because for all intents and purposes, I'm a Sony stan. but yeah, that's where all my gaming resides for the most part.
Cool.
I do have a Vita, but I don't have a PSP.
You were making me really nostalgic when you were talking about old computer games. It reminded me of Museum Madness and Billy Beamish and Monkey Island.
Yep.
Yeah, Willy Beamish. And I mean, all those old games. I mean, I was a big PC gamer back when games came on discs, like floppy discs, and
sure,
remembering how there was a Beauty and the Beast game that was like 6 diskettes to install, all that stuff.
I was going through a bunch of stuff today that was really bringing up some memories, because I knew about King's Quest and the Hugo games and Laura Bow and all of these that I planned on mentioning, but then I saw some of the Microsoft package that they included on Windows 3.1 and above, where it was Minesweeper and Microsoft Tetris and Rodent's Revenge, which was it's like a maze game where you're a mouse trying to collect cheese and stay away from the cats that are trying to catch you. And I think it was like a spin-off of something called Mousetrap, and all these little games that were included on the PC that really like hit a nostalgia nerve this morning when I was prepping for the show. That I was like, man, if I could get on a Windows 3.1 or some kind of emulator to play these again, it would blow my mind probably.
What about Jezzball?
Say that again.
Jezzball.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Leisure Suit Larry. I don't know where this guy. I don't know what you guys are talking
Leisure
about.
Suit Larry in the Microsoft Game Pack that you could get on floppy disk. Jezzball. It was a game where
Jezzball. Sorry,
it was a game where you started with imagine just like a square room as a window with a square, like a gray background, and this ball would go around like that screensaver, like the DVD screensaver that would bounce off the sides, and then you would draw a vertical line or a horizontal line, and you would try to close the ball in, and as the levels progressed, you'd have to get smaller and smaller to beat the level, and eventually you would have to close the ball into a 98% of the screen was blacked out, so it would just be a little ball bouncing in a small box. I don't know. It was a super fun game.
I would kind of literally play that today. That sounds like reverse Breakout.
It's super fun. I'm seriously, and people have remade it. You can find a different version of it somewhere, but it came on the Microsoft Game Pack that was like a Windows 3.1.
Just be careful when you Google it, folks.
Yeah.
Don't spell it
I'm
wrong.
looking at screenshots of it now, and it looks familiar. I can't recall if I played it, but I feel like I've seen it before.
It's a great game that does not get enough credit because we should be playing Jezball, 2022 now. It's so funny.
In 4K with ray tracing. Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned Monkey Island briefly. That's one of the series that I'm hoping to get to at some point, and we'll likely talk about on the podcast. Once I do, I want to play through them all. I own them all on Steam. I just don't do a lot of PC gaming. And maybe when I talk about my own habits, I'll get into that. But I do want to go through the Monkey Island series, especially with the news this year that I believe they're going to be making something new. Yeah. So that's one that I would like to go back to and revisit, because I've dabbled with them, but it was 20 years ago. But anyway, Brad, so what else do you do other than gaming? Do you have any other hobbies?
Again, like with my what my dad
Cooking
introduced
show,
me to,
perhaps?
no cooking shows. You don't want me in the kitchen, I promise you that.
Hey,
But,
same here.
No, I've kind of gotten into a hobby of toy collecting. I have way too many toys that my goal with them was, or what I've been doing with at least the 90s Ninja Turtle things, is photography with them, making scenes and doing fun things with them. It's my friend Kevin knows him as well. Jason Michael is very, very good at it, and kind of inspired me, because I've had all these toys all my life that my dad got me into collecting because I thought they were cool, and I was like, I want to do something with them too. So I have boxes and boxes of action figures that I sometimes get inspired to make little scenes with, and I kind of have a project in the back of my mind that I don't want to throw out into the universe yet, but that I'm thinking about starting up relatively soon in regards to that. But when I'm not doing anything fun with toys and video games, I'm trying to stay active by running. I run quite a few miles a week. Those are my three probably biggest things. I used to be bigger into movies like Heaven and reviewing them quite a bit, but now I don't make as much time for that, or even television as much as I used to, but because I've just been kind of hyper focused on playing the games that I want to catch up on, and maybe I'll get back to the movie side of things once I settle down a little bit, but that's it for the most part.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, perfect segue for me then, because talking about movies, yeah, I totally get you. I mean, it's hard when you have a ton of hobbies and interests and a life, and I'm lucky in that regard in a way, because I'm divorced. It sounds weird to lead with I'm lucky because I'm divorced, but I live alone at this point, and both of my kids are either out of high school and in college, or just about to be in college, and so I have so much free time, and I am able to kind of keep up with my movies and my TV and my games, and put decent amounts of time into all of them still. Going back for me, I did do some PC gaming like you guys did. Man, such a trip reminiscing about the Sierra line of games, because that was big for me. I was big into Master of Orion, that series, and different 4X games. It was kind of where I got my love of the Civilization series that's carried through pretty much my whole life. Then it was a Nintendo. I was a Nintendo kid, so I grew up at a time when I don't even know how old I was. 6, 7, 8 years old when the Nintendo actually came out for the first time, and so I was in that perfect demographic that it was marketed to, and fell in love with it. Many a nights I was grounded because I was caught up late at night playing that thing when I was supposed to be in bed, and I was getting in trouble over the addiction to video games all the way back 10 years, when I was 10 years old, and it's not really changed. It's just that nobody's here to police me now. But I did transition into PlayStation heavily. That was my console, so I was not really a Sega kid. And I know that there's always that question about, were you Nintendo, were you Sega? So I haven't played a lot of the original Sega properties, and it was always PlayStation. And I just fell in love with RPGs. I was a D&D player as well, and that's kind of where RPGs got their start, right? Like, that's where they come from. It was born out of that ideal of like trying to be the character and having stats that mattered for your progression and for different combat type situations and such. And so I just fell so in love with JRPGs, and with Nintendo and PlayStation I had my fill. And from there, I was a PlayStation guy. I did not even own an original Xbox, so I came to Halo extremely late in my life. I was never a first-person shooter guy for the most part. It took years before I even started enjoying them, but I just didn't have one. My first one was an Xbox 360, and then now I like a little bit of everything, and I play a lot of things, but big budget, narrative driven. If I had to go to a desert island and there's only one type of game that I could play, I would be like, give me Sony exclusives. That would be my choice, right? Because those are the games that emotionally hook me. And that kind of plays into the fact that I have a film podcast, Kevin. Mine's been going about 6 years now, called Feelin' Film, where we approach our reviews about movies from an emotional perspective more than a technical one. I kind of am a film critic by name, I guess, because I have press credentials and I'm in a film critic society and I vote on awards. But the reality is that I'm not that critical of movies, to be honest. I really focus on the positive and the things that I love about them. And so I've been doing that, and I have a lot of fun with that. And it will always be a big part of my life and something I enjoy. But games have always been there too. And so I try to find that balance. I'm the kind of person that has everything, one of all of the stuff, as long as it's the newest version, as I mentioned earlier. So, I'm a day one Series X, a day one PS5, a day one Switch OLED kind of guy. I've got to have the hardware available to play whatever comes out that catches my fancy, or that is makes a wave in the cultural zeitgeist. Those are the things I'm going to want to experience 99% of the time. Occasionally there will be something that's in a genre that's just not for me, which largely was, like, for example, the From Software, Dark Souls, Soulsborne model for me up until Elden Ring. And so, like many, I have now been drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm sure we'll talk about that plenty in the coming weeks as well. I play a lot. I don't finish a lot. So I'm a lot like you in that regard, Jessie, where I too actually am diagnosed with ADHD. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's the reason.
So.
I don't know.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, now, and there are games I finish. Don't get me wrong.
Some
there are
are
ones
between.
But they really typically have to capture my attention. And when I finish them, what you said spoke to my experience so much, because I will blaze through The Last of Us Part 2 in 40 hours in 3 days. I will play the whole game, and I just can't stop. But the moment that I take a break and I move to the next squirrel, shiny, then it's a 50-50 chance if I'm ever coming back to the thing, right? So I have a lot of games that are in progress right now. Things that I keep telling myself I'm going to do one game at a time. It never works. Never, ever. Which is good. I think for the podcast, that's going to work out, because I'm going to be able to talk about a lot of stuff. We can all celebrate together when Jessie and I actually roll credits on a game. And we can be like, yeah, you did it. You guys did it.
I'm right there with you guys.
I was really impressed with myself. I was playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I can't even tell you how many hours I logged into that game. I literally completed 99% of that game, and I was like, I had 3 more vaults or ruins to do, and I think like 15 more Koroks to find. There's a crap ton of Koroks in that game, and I just had to do the last boss, and that was it. I was done, 100% completion. I somehow, and I was gonna beat it too. I was gonna stream me actually finishing a game. Not only that, but a Legend of Zelda game, and full completion. I don't know how I did it, and honestly, it kind of makes me sick to my stomach still, even thinking about it and realizing it. I try to suppress it down. I somehow deleted that entire file.
No!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Yeah.
No!
Yeah.
Oh no! That's that's 100 plus hours.
That is
easily
a tragic
so
loss.
many hours.
That's so many hours. It was like
That's
a couple
so
years. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Thank you guys. I'm glad that you can understand, because I'm pretty sure my heart rate has already just jumped up a lot just by telling this story.
Kevin put F for respects in the chat. Good job.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Had to do it.
I love it.
I appreciate that.
Oh man. Well, hopefully we don't experience that again. Go ahead.
I think Brad is going to be the only one of this crew that finishes games, because I'm right there with you guys. if a new game comes out and it looks cool to me, I'll buy it. Day one, $60, $70. And my son plays games, so honestly, he's getting the use out of it. You know, it's not like I'm just spending it and never playing it. But I mean, I'll buy the new games, check it out. Oh, it's really fun, and I won't touch it. It's just, I don't have the time, but I want to play it. I want to see what it's all about. I want to be able to talk about it at least a little bit. But yeah, I wish I had more time to finish them.
It's amazing. It's like, it's different psychologies to us all. But yeah, no. So I mean, I guess that's me in a nutshell. I'm just into everything. I'm a sports fanatic as well, so there's always a sports something on. I have a big second huge TV in my living room next to my big main TV, and so I'm almost always gaming with some kind of sports on, unless it's late at night and there just are literally no sports taking place. My daughter's in college, as I mentioned. She's learning coding right now. She's at DigiPen Institute of Technology, so it's a gamer school, and it is really cool. You can learn more about her. Actually, she was with me in episode A11, if I call it the right thing. She was in the final episode of the previous iteration of this podcast, and we reviewed Breath of the Wild together.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. Yeah, it's her favorite game of all time, and it was a really, really cool thing, and it's neat to have kids, like you mentioned, you know, Kevin, with your son. I know you played some Sea of Thieves and get to play games with him. And obviously that's just a joy that many of us can relate to. And now here I am watching my kid. Like, she showed us this weekend at a family gathering a trailer for the game that her game team made over this last semester. And I've played many of her games that she's made single-handedly during game jams or with like tiny little random teams over the years. And they're all kind of, I mean, let's be real, they're not anything to really get excited about. This blew me away. It was such a cool trailer and a really neat little platformer that they put together, and I was so proud. And I was like, man, maybe all those tens of thousands of dollars every single year that this is costing me is going to pay off in the long run, because you're going to be happy and take care of me when I'm old. So
I can totally relate, Aaron. As a gamer, when you're a father and your kids are finally the age to play the games that you want to play and can play with you, it's a really cool thing.
All right. Well, I think that covers it, and we are going to be getting into our episode 2 here very shortly. So we're going to cut this one off. Thank you for listening. Our next episode will be a 2022 catch-up. So we're going to talk more about the specific games that we've been playing, what we've been into, what we've been up to over the last 4 or so months since we're starting this podcast here in the middle of April. We have some catching up to do. If you like what you hear here, please subscribe. That'll help us out. Share us with your friends. Follow us on Twitter and other social media. Usually it's all at The Games We Love, so it's easy and simple to find. There will be links to our website and all of our individual social channels for both the podcast and the hosts in the show notes to each and every episode. And we're all very talkative and friendly, so feel free to hit us up and chat on social media. And additionally, if you did enjoy the show and you have a few minutes, please be nice and drop us a quick 5-star review and some kind words in the Apple Podcast app. Specifically, that's the best one that can help us out. But anywhere that you happen to be listening, whether it's on Spotify or Overcast or Stitcher, I don't even know. Everywhere in the world has a podcast app these days. I mean, you could be listening to us on Amazon Radio for all I know. I don't even know what that's called, but I know Amazon has a podcast thing now. So leave us a review there, and we would appreciate it. Thank you for listening. We'll be back soon.